I gotta be honest, I heavily debated doing a review on this figure, but we're gonna do it anyways. Hey everyone, it's Rustabout Collector here, and this is the Vintage Collection ARC Trooper Clone Commander Colt from Walmart. Yes, it's a Walmart exclusive, however, these ARC Troopers that they've done that have all been Walmart exclusives have actually been relatively easy to get our hands on for collectors. I've seen most people who have wanted these figures, they've actually been able to get them, which is a very pleasant surprise in the world of collecting today. However, there are some issues that have been going on with this. This is not a Hasbro problem necessarily, this is a Walmart problem. I ordered 2 of these. Why, you may ask? Because I like to keep these ARC Troopers on card. I have one of every previous iteration of the ARC Trooper, just because I think they look very nice on their card backs. They've gotten some really nice artwork with these, and you know, it's no exception to have these nice iterations of the Rancor Battalion on card as well. But lo and behold, Walmart being Walmart, these showed up to my door in a padded bubble mailer. Basically a glorified envelope, and yes, the card backs suffered as a result. So I still will be opening one of these and keeping one on card, but I'm gonna have to try and hunt down a third one now that is in slightly better condition, because my options are bent and creased and very damaged card back, or slightly warped and less creased and less damaged, but with a fully separating bubble. So we're gonna keep this one on card. I might put a little dab of glue along that and just reseal that there. But then this one, being that it's crumpled and bent and actually slightly separating as well, I'll open this one and we will review it. But that's actually not the reason why I was debating reviewing this. Primarily it's because we've already seen a bunch of iterations of this figure. We have 3 Battlefront 2 variants. We also have the 3 501st ARC Troopers, Jesse, Fives, and Echo. And now this is the second out of the 3 Rancor Battalion figures that we have announced so far. I will say I like that they're doing these in sets of 3. However, we are still missing Hammer from this ARC Trooper Rancor Battalion, and we are missing the blue ARC Trooper from Battlefront 2. So hopefully we'll get those fleshed out eventually, but until then, we're taking a look here at ARC Clone Commander Colt. The card back here is very nice. I think this is an excellent picture from the Clone Wars episodes they are featured in. This is when he's giving that big speech to all the cadets, and I absolutely love it. It's a great classic moment of this character, and really there aren't a ton of other scenes that we see him in, alive at least. So, you know, it is kind of a limited option, but still a good one nonetheless. On the back, of course, there are figures we've already seen, some of which I have reviewed, like ARC Commander Havoc and the Phase 2 Clone Trooper. That being said though, let's take this out of the box and take a look at it up close. And here he is all out of the box. From top to bottom here, there is nothing we have not seen before. His whole body here is a reuse of the standard ARC Trooper body mold, and then his head is a reuse of Jesse, I believe. Unfortunately, we have still not gotten this new face sculpt used for Captain Rex, but I digress. This is a very accurate representation of a realistic Commander Colt. The face sculpt is that very impressive new Tamora Morrison head sculpt that we've been getting, and it's accurate to what Commander Colt looks like, though maybe a little bit more of a 5 o'clock shadow would be a bit more accurate to him. I know we only see him in one dimly lit corridor right before his death, without the helmet at least, and so, you know, it's hard to tell, but I feel like he did have more of a 5 o'clock shadow, similar to like Jesse does in season 7. However, for what it is, this works really well, and I kind of want to get another one of these to open just to do some head swaps with this head onto like the new Utapau troopers and stuff like that. It's a great, unique clone trooper head sculpt, and I'm glad we get it here with Commander Colt. Interestingly enough, we actually now have unique head sculpts for every single one of Rancor Battalion. This one, of course, being canon, but then we have the mix-up with Havoc's head sculpt, and he has the goatee and sideburns, and it looks like Blitz is getting paint on the temples of his hair that's like gray, so he might be a little bit older of an ARC Trooper, maybe like a Gen 1 ARC Trooper. Either way, it's super cool. We're getting unique head sculpts with each of these ARC Trooper figures, even if maybe they're not fully canon. I just appreciate that diversity among my clone troopers. Of course, he comes with that removable helmet, so you can pop that on just like that. The printing here looks very, very nice. This is cast in a gray plastic and then painted with the white and black. There could have been a few more details painted here, like those little ear cap pieces probably should have been painted black, as well as that little indent back there, that should also be painted black. But for what it is, I mean, this is Commander Colt's character design. Compared to his animated appearance, it looks pretty realistic. Of course, there are some subtle differences just because this is a realistic interpretation of that armor, but still, I think they did an excellent job here, and all of the paint apps are really nice and crisp. All of that is very nice and crisp. There's no paint overspray or anything like that. It's all very nicely done and where it should be. There's even a little hint of silver there on that dart blaster, I guess it is. I don't know. They never really use that in the show, but let's just assume that it's a dart blaster similar to what like Jango and Boba have. For accessories, once again, you have the removable helmet with the movable little antenna there. You have the DC-15 carbine, which using this little magazine piece here can actually be attached to the ARC Trooper backpack. That's not going to fall off or anything. You have the two DC-17 pistols, both of which can be put into the holsters on the Kama. And you have the DC-15 long rifle, which is a more animated style one than what comes with like the Andor Clone Trooper or the 212th Attack Battalion pack. The top one here is the realistic one that comes with the Andor Trooper and the 212th Army Builder pack. This one is the ARC Trooper blaster, and it's the more animated Clone Wars style. Because this figure is the same, it's got the same articulation, ball joint at the head, ball joint at the torso, hinge and swivel at the shoulders, inhibited slightly by the pauldron, but ultimately it's a softer plastic so you can kind of flex it out of the way, single jointed elbows to 90, hinge and swivel wrist, which are both up and down, which I really appreciate because it means these ARC Troopers can properly dual wield their DC-17 blasters. The hips are the older hinge and swivel style, which means you have to get them positioned just right to get them to swing forward. Single jointed knees down to 90, and then hinge and rocker at the foot, gets you to there, and rocks side to side. So once again, it's pretty much everything we've seen before, but that's not entirely a bad thing. It brings a lot of good to the table. The sculpted detail and paint apps are really nice. I love this little flip down antenna. I love the unique face sculpt and just the overall realistic design of this Temuera Morrison head sculpt. It's very nicely done. I love that the DC-15 can be attached to the backpack. That is such a great little detail. And I think it's super cool that they are doing so many great repaints of this ARC Trooper mold. It's a great use of a pretty fantastic mold, even though it does have its issues. Once again, this is the same ARC Trooper mold we've gotten before, which means while it does come with all the same good things as the previous molds, it also comes with all the same bad things. First, all the blasters are cast in a very soft and bendy plastic. It's such a frustration that they won't cast these in a slightly sturdier plastic because it makes posing very difficult, and these will warp on you. It's just a very poor choice in plastic quality. Second, the DC-17 pistols are a bit too small. They can be held fairly firmly in the character's hands, however, with a slight bump they will fall out, and while they do fit into the holsters fairly well, once again, they do not take much effort to fall out, and I have lost many of these just from a character being on a shelf and maybe just falling over and one of these just flies into the abyss. I wish these were scaled up just maybe like 5% more so they fit more snugly in the holsters and in the hands. This might not be a con for everyone, but this shoulder pauldron piece is a separate element, which means that it can flop around and move around the more you pose it. I do kind of wish that this was at least glued down, but that is a simple mod that you can do yourself if you so desire, so it's kind of a con, but I don't want to list it directly as one because it's really down to personal preference. And then finally, on my list of kind of cons with this mold, I don't like the hinge and swivel hips here. I think that they are really impractical when you really can't see how they are aligned beneath this soft plastic Kama. I do appreciate that this is softer plastic so you can get some mobility out of it, but this mold would have benefited greatly from the use of ball hinge hips like on the Andor clone. It just would have allowed a much more free range of motion. And actually there is kind of one more con here, and that is just that this knee pad is attached to the thigh armor rather than to the shin. It's very inaccurate and it looks really awkward when you have the knee bent and you have that knee pad just kind of stuck to the thigh plate like that. Doesn't look very good. I'm really glad that they fixed it in the future iterations of the Clone Trooper and on past iterations. This is actually the first and thankfully only clone figure in 3 3/4 inch to have that knee pad stuck up there on the thigh. So all in all, this is a perfectly fine figure. In fact, I really like it, especially because it is very nostalgic to have Rancor Battalion updated in a 2020 ARC Trooper mold style. It builds off of an already great ARC Trooper body mold. Again, there are cons that come with it, but there's also a lot of pros that come with it. So while there's nothing new here, when it comes to Clone Trooper repaints, I don't exactly expect a ton of new things. It'd be cool if they could retool things to allow for those ball hinge hips. Stuff like that would be a really nice little addition to a figure like this. However, for what it is, stock, standard, out of the box, I'm really happy with it, and I do plan on getting any future repaints of this ARC Trooper mold. It may not be perfect, but it is a vast improvement upon previous iterations of the Clone Trooper. And yeah, I do hope we see more of these in the future, hopefully with just some better packaging from Walmart. They got the pre-order system a bit better this time around. Now let's hopefully get them to fix their shipping problems, and then maybe Walmart will actually be a reliable place to get figures from. But anyways, that is going to do it for this particular review of the Vintage Collection ARC Trooper Clone Commander Colt. That is a mouthful to say. But anyways, if you like this video, please leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're new. Follow the link down in the description if you want to follow me over on Instagram to see toy photography and toy-related content like updates when figures like this go up for pre-order. I post those over there so you too can get your hands on these. If you made it this far in the video, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful evening, noon, or night, depending on when you're watching this video, of course. And as always, I'll be sure to catch you all in the next video.